I never imagined I'd be the one to bring down the infamous Deborah Jenkins, but life, as it often does, had other plans. For those unfamiliar with me, I'm Mike Wilson, a child protective services worker who moved into Sunnyside Estates just 6 months ago. At first glance, the neighborhood seemed perfect. Trimmed lawns, a sparkling community pool, and neighbors who smiled as they passed by. Well, most of them smiled. The exception was Deborah Jenkins, or as everyone called her, Karen, the iron-fisted president of our homeowners association. From the day I arrived, Karen made it her personal crusade to record every one of my supposed HOA infractions. My grass, half an inch too long. My mailbox, not quite the exact shade of chestnut brown demanded by Section 4, Paragraph 12 of the bylaws. Once I left my trash can visible from the street for an hour past pickup, an unforgivable crime, apparently, earning me a strongly worded notice taped squarely to my front door. But all of that, I would later realize, was merely the prelude to what would become the most dramatic confrontation Sunnyside Estates had ever witnessed. It happened on a blistering Saturday in July. By noon, the temperature had soared to 98 degrees, and the air felt thick enough to swim through. I just returned from the grocery store and was unloading my bags when I spotted Karen marching across the street toward Mrs. Rodriguez's house. Her clipboard was clutched against her chest like a battle shield, and trailing behind her was her 8-year-old son. Tommy, shuffling miserably through the heat. Tommy, "Stay in the car!" she snapped over her shoulder. "I just need to have a quick word with Mrs. Rodriguez about her unauthorized garden gnomes." "I won't be long." I watched as she hit the lock button on her key fob, once, then again, making sure the doors were sealed tight. Every window was rolled up. I froze mid-movement, a gallon of milk in my hand. Did she just lock her kid in the car on one of the hottest days of the year? Surely not. Maybe she'd left the engine running and the air conditioner on. But as I looked closer, I saw no exhaust, no vibration, no whisper of running air, just a child sitting in what would soon become an oven. Now, I should mention that in my line of work, I've seen far too many cases like this. Children left in hot cars, some by accident, some by negligence, all of them dangerous. Inside temperatures can jump 20 degrees in 10 minutes. It doesn't take long before a child's life is at risk. I knew I had to act, quickly but with professionalism. Setting down my groceries, I approached the car and peered inside. Tommy was already sweating, his cheeks flushed red. I tapped gently on the glass and gave him a reassuring smile. "Hey, buddy, are you okay in there?" I asked loud enough for him to hear. He shook his head, tugging at the handle, but the child lock held firm. "My mom says I have to stay here," he murmured, his voice muffled. "It's really hot." "I know, buddy. How about I go talk to your mom real quick?" I turned toward Mrs. Rodriguez's yard, where Karen was mid-lecture about the alleged unauthorized decorative items surrounding a small fountain. Before I could reach her, she spotted me approaching and stiffened. "Mr. Wilson," she greeted me with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. "If this is about your unapproved bird feeder, I've already documented it. You'll receive a notice by Monday." Keeping my tone even, I said, "Actually, Mrs. Jenkins, I'm concerned about your son. You've left him locked in the car with no air conditioning and it's nearly 100 degrees. Karen's eyes narrowed, her grip on the clipboard tightening. "I'm handling HOA business and will only be a few minutes." "Tommy's perfectly fine. I left him with his tablet." Turning away, she continued, "Now, as I was saying, Mrs. Rodriguez, about these gnomes—" "Mrs. Jenkins," I interjected, my voice calm but firm. "The inside of a car can reach 120 degrees in less than 20 minutes on a day like this. Your son is already in distress." Karen spun around, her face now crimson with fury rather than heat. "Are you trying to tell me how to parent my child?" "Who do you think you are?" I drew in a steady breath. "I'm a child protective services worker, and I'm legally obligated to intervene if a child is in danger. Please unlock your car immediately." A flicker of uncertainty crossed her expression before indignation reclaimed it. "This is ridiculous. I know what's best for my son. I'll only be a few more minutes and he's fine waiting in the car. Mind your own business and stop trying to undermine my authority." That phrase, "my authority," told me everything. Karen's HOA presidency had long since blurred the line between enforcing community rules and feeding her ego. She truly believed she was untouchable, even when her child's safety was on the line. "Mrs. Jenkins, if you don't unlock your car right now, I'll have no choice but to call 911, I said steadily. "This isn't about HOA rules or authority. It's about your son's life." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You wouldn't dare! Do you know how many violations I could find at your house if I really looked? That garden of yours is at least 2 inches over the height limit. And don't think I haven't noticed the non-regulation wind chimes on your back porch." I pulled out my phone. "Mrs. Jenkins, I don't care about wind chimes or garden heights. Your son is locked in a hot car, and that's all that matters." I dialed 911, keeping my gaze on her as the dispatcher picked up. "Yes," I said evenly. "I'm reporting a child locked in a hot vehicle. The mother is refusing to unlock it. The address is 42 Sunnyside Lane." For the first time, Karen's composure cracked. The defiance drained from her face, replaced by dawning panic. "This is absurd," she cried, fumbling for her keys at last. "I'm unlocking it right now." "There's no need for all this dramatics," Karen snapped, jabbing furiously at the unlock button on her key fob. I thanked the dispatcher, ended the call, and calmly informed her that officers would still be responding, as required by protocol. By then, several neighbors had gathered outside, drawn by the noise and tension. Mrs. Rodriguez stood frozen on her porch, her garden gnomes momentarily forgotten, while Mr. Peterson from across the street hurried over. Worry etched into every line of his face. I rushed to the car and pulled the door open. Tommy nearly tumbled out, his face beet red, hair soaked with sweat. "It was really hot in there," he gasped, inhaling the cooler, though still sweltering air. "I know, buddy." "Let's get you some water," I said, guiding him toward my house, where my groceries still sat scattered across the driveway. Karen trailed close behind, alternating between frantic justifications and angry threats. "This is ridiculous." Tommy was fine. "You're blowing this out of proportion and turning everyone against me. Just wait until the next board meeting. I'll make sure every single one of your violations is addressed." I ignored her tirade and focused on Tommy, handing him a bottle of water from my grocery bag and urging him to sit in the shade of my porch. Moments later, the sound of approaching sirens filled the street. When the officers arrived, they began taking statements from everyone. One officer used a thermometer to check the car's interior. It read a scorching 132 degrees, even though Tommy had been removed only minutes earlier. The other spoke gently with Tommy, who admitted this wasn't the first time his mom had left him alone while she handled HOA business. What happened next stunned the entire neighborhood. After a brief conversation with their sergeant over the radio, the officers turned back to Karen with grave expressions. "Mrs. Jenkins," one of them said evenly, "based on the evidence and witness statements, you are under arrest for child endangerment." Karen's mouth fell open. "Arrest? This is outrageous." "Do you know who I am? I'm the president of the Homeowners Association." The officer's tone didn't waver. "Ma'am, please turn around and place your hands behind your back." As the cuffs clicked into place, Karen's frantic eyes darted around at the neighbors she had bullied for years with her clipboard and endless rules. "This is a misunderstanding. Someone tell them I'm a good mother. I keep our neighborhood pristine." But not one person spoke in her defense. In fact, several nodded in approval as she was escorted to the patrol car. Tommy was placed in temporary protective custody by a fellow CPS worker, my colleague, Sarah, who happened to be on call that weekend. 3 days later, an emergency HOA board meeting was held. Karen's arrest had already hit the local news, thanks to a video captured by Mrs. Rodriguez's teenage son showing her refusing to unlock the car. The board's decision was unanimous. Karen was officially removed as HOA president. Her downfall didn't stop there. At her arraignment the following week, she faced a Class A misdemeanor charge, punishable by up to a year in jail and a $4,000 fine. As the judge read the charges, Karen's face crumpled in disbelief. Her empire of petty power and neighborhood control crumbled before everyone's eyes. "But I was just following the rules," she whispered weakly to herself as the bailiff led her away. Her clipboard, authority, and false sense of control gone for good.